Was Kraven the Hunter really that bad? What is going on, my fellow Looniac gang? How you guys doing, man? Lewis Knows Tunes here, where we talk about everything cartoons, movies, film, anything that's on a TV, we pretty much going to talk about it. And I have a movie review for you guys. And it is regarding about Kraven the Hunter. If you guys don't know, Kraven the Hunter was released about a couple of days ago. 3C did a review on it, so definitely check everything out on there. But Kraven, it's not doing too sharp right now. Kraven the Hunter debuted on Rotten Tomatoes with a 14%. IMDb has it at a 5.5 out of 10. Kraven the Hunter also managed to have the worst box office opening weekend for a Sony Spider-Man movie, and it's making it worse than Madam Web. And a lot of people fucking hated Madam Web, but it is really doing bad. But obviously, those are just numbers and money and statistics. How is the actual movie? Let's talk about it. So for me, when it comes to Kraven the Hunter, I thought the action was probably the best part of the movie. Not gonna lie, I thought a lot of the kills that Kraven was doing was pretty awesome, like throwing spears through the helicopter and biting people's noses off and things like that. I thought the action was really good. Like, I thought it was really good for it to make it a decent movie. However, though, when we start the movie, we're starting with Kraven getting into prison and, you know, obviously letting people know, like, he ain't gonna be there for long. And then all of a sudden, we're cutting to a reverse time skip of 16 years later, where we're going back to the past, and we spend a lot of time learning about Kraven's backstory, which, me personally, I don't have an issue with learning about Kraven's backstory. It's just a little bit confusing and hard to pull somebody in when you're starting off with him getting put in prison, and then we're doing a reverse time skip to learn about his past. I personally thought the way they orchestrated that was pretty lackluster. It was too much that they were trying to fit in. If they would have started off the movie with learning about his backstory first and then doing 16 years later, I thought that would have made a lot more sense. But they were doing a little bit too much. I personally thought Aaron Taylor Johnson did a good job at portraying what Kraven is supposed to be when it becomes a hunter. However, I don't think he was the right man for the role. Yes, I do firmly believe you can do a good impersonation of a character and still not be right for the role. Now, me personally, I have very limited knowledge on Kraven. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys and say I read comic books. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys and say I know everything about every character that I talk about. I'm just talking about what I see from the movie. And my very little knowledge of Kraven, I've seen from the Spider-Man 1994 series, where he had his own episodes, and what I've seen from the Spider-Man 2 video game. He seems to be a really big, huge, imposing figure that when you just see him, you're in fear, you're in shock, like some shit is gonna go down. And that's where I felt like was really lacking with Aaron Taylor Johnson's impersonation of Kraven. Don't get me wrong, he's not a small guy by any means, but he's also not this big, huge, imposing figure either. Just a regular guy that's just really nicely fit, you know? Nothing wrong with that. No shade to Aaron Taylor Johnson. On top of that, the thing that really irked me too is comparing it to the Spider-Man 1994 animated series and comparing it to Spider-Man 2, because once again, that's the only knowledge I have of Kraven. No Russian accent.
You cannot give your heart to another man. I've been in your shadow for hours, but you sense nothing. Pathetic.
At all. Straight American. That threw me off a little bit, because usually for a guy like Kraven, I'm expecting for him to not only be a huge imposing figure, but for him to have his accent, and for Aaron Taylor Johnson's Kraven to not have the accent, and then also having his brother Chameleon not having any accent, but their father has a thick Russian accent, really just doesn't persuade me to enjoy the movie for what it was supposed to be. It's little things like that where when you have lackluster production, the placements of everything and the way how characters look and sound, it's enough for me to be like, I'm not a fan of the film. I was a fan of the action, not a fan of the film. Once again, thought Aaron Taylor Johnson, thought he did a pretty good impersonation of Kraven. I just still feel like he wasn't the right person for the role. He just doesn't scream imposing figure. Like, this is the guy that played Kick-Ass in Kick-Ass. 1 and 2, and he wasn't this huge imposing figure, and he still looks like Kick-Ass in Kick-Ass, just a little bit older, but just not the Kraven that I thought we were really gonna get. So once again, from my limited knowledge of the character, imposing figure, thick accent, didn't even get either. I thought those are two simple things to fill in. There's so many fucking Russians you could have placed in here, or anybody that could have done, that job of Kraven. But nonetheless, the action was good in here. As far as the overall plot, I was a little bit lost. Seems like they were trying to fit in too many things at once. Obviously, Sergei trying to save Dmitri, but Sergei trying to save Dmitri and then also still having beef with his father. And obviously Rhino was in the mix and all these things. And it's just very weird to me. It's just very weird to me. I was lost in the plot. I was also lost on who the real villain is, because one moment Sergei is worried about his father, and in the next minute he's worried about what the fuck Rhino was doing and all this shit. So I was kind of lost with the plot in the middle of the movie. I'm like, dude, I don't even know what the hell is happening, okay? This was such a clusterfuck. Trying to cram in too much shit in one movie, it's not fucking valid. But then we get to the Rhino scene, and unlike everybody that's criticizing it, I personally didn't mind Rhino the way he looked. I mean, if Rhino was in real life and he was a mutated fucking Rhino, I'd expect that's what he would look like. So I thought Sony did a great job at hitting the nail on the head when it came to the representation of Rhino. I thought that was pretty all right. That the accent was there, which is cool. So I thought they got the impersonation of Rhino right, because a lot of people, they didn't like the mech suit from TASM 2. A lot of people didn't like the mech suit in the Spider-Man games. So if you don't want to go full mech suit, I thought this was the next best option. And obviously this is what he looked like in the Spider-Man 1994 series, just a dude in a big-ass Rhino suit. So I was all for it. I thought they nailed that presentation very well. However, the build-up in the climax was not good. The build-up to finally seeing Rhino was good. The way they ended it, I'm not gonna lie, I thought the Rhino and Kraven fight scene was just a little bit too short. And I talked about it with my boy Miko. Make sure you guys follow him on all platforms, on Instagram and all these things. But obviously, I talked about it with Miko, and he ended up informing me that Rhino was a last-minute addition in the movie. Again, it's just more proof that they are adding too much into one movie. Like, I personally would have liked the whole, movie to be centered around Rhino. Personally, I thought that would have been cool, especially with how they were portraying him and how much of a threat he actually was. I just think for big bad bosses to be portrayed the way Rhino was, they don't deserve to go out quick like that. Like, he had his moments where he was bench pressing the truck and he smacked around Kraven a couple times, but then when Rhino had him by the neck and Kraven was struggling, all it took was a metal rod pierced into the liver, and then Rhino gets hooked into the stampede, and then that's how he's gone. And I thought that happened a little bit too fast. It was like, what, a 3-minute fight? I mean, for a movie that's like really heavy on action, I expected a little bit longer fight. We've gotten fights that are longer and a lot more entertaining. So I just thought the overall movie was just lackluster. They're trying to cram in too many things at once. Aaron Taylor Johnson did a good job, but still felt like he wasn't the guy for the role. Dmitri was good in the movie. Rhino's presentation was good in the movie. Just overall, just a lackluster plot, very good action, and just the characters feel lifeless, and a lot of the characters just feel like they're missing a lot of their identity. Like Kraven being big and having an accent is what I expected. Didn't even get that. So that's how I feel. How would I rate it on a scale of 1 to 5? I'm gonna be generous and I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5, only because the action was really good. If you do want to see some real decent action, the action is something to look forward to, and they do a good presentation of how Kraven's hunting senses are, which I thought was a pretty decent thing they added. But other than that, everything else just fell short to me. It fell flat like soda, that when you left it out for too long. I was not a fan of the movie, but I'm gonna be generous. I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5, only because the action was pretty nice. But for a movie to be have a 14% on Rotten Tomato, 5.5 out of 10 on IMDb, and to be rated obviously worse than Madam Web, did it deserve to have all those critiques? Yes, in my opinion, it did. Sony apparently is also pausing their Spider-Man universe, which I think is good because you have something very good within the Spider-Verse movies that you can build upon. I really personally wouldn't mind if they did animated movies for these other Spider-Man villains. Like Kraven as an animated movie probably would have fucking hit. Probably would have fucking hit. So if I was Sony, I would obviously go the animated movie route, because clearly I don't know how much you need to see from Morbius, from Madam Web, to the Venom movies, to now. I don't know how much you need to see that this shit is not working, but this shit is not working. So stick to the animated department because you are killer in that. But with that being said, that's the end of Kraven the Hunter review. I'm sorry I'm not like 3C. I don't really go into deep detail like that. You know, that's his job. I'm just telling y'all my thoughts and, you know, my points of the movie. But if you guys haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We on the road to 700 subscribers. Please follow me on TikTok at Lewis Knows Tunes. Everything will be on screen here and everything will be down in the description down below. So definitely check that out. And I will see you guys next time. We have a lot of videos coming up, so it's going to be fun. So stay safe, stay blessed. I love you guys.